Hello, everyone, and welcome back to American Ultras Talk. Fresh off a 2-0 win over Panama, Mauricio Pochettino and a heavily depleted USMNT head into his first USA versus Mexico rivalry game at the Estadio Akron in Guadalajara on Tuesday. Now, unfortunately, Yuri wasn't available to do this, but we decided that it was still important to get a preview for this game out for you guys. So here I am to look at the game, break it down, look at some key players for Mexico and what they've been up to recently, go into a predicted starting lineup for the USA, which is going to be interesting with a lot of players out, and then finally, of course, give a score prediction for the game, which will be happening tomorrow, the first USA versus Mexico game in over 2 years. The last one was in March 24th, 2022 in World Cup qualifying. We got a 0-0 draw in that game. Hopefully we can better that result tomorrow. Now, going into Mexico and what their recent form looks like, they actually played a friendly as well in this camp. This is their second one, and interestingly enough, it wasn't against another national team. Obviously, we played Panama, a CONCACAF opponent. Mexico played Valencia, the La Liga team from Spain, who are in horrible form right now. They're 18th in La Liga currently. They put out their B team against Mexico and got a 2-2 draw. Not an encouraging performance for Mexico, but they'll look to bounce back in this rivalry game tomorrow. Another important thing is that it's Andres Guardado. You guys, USMNT fans, might remember him for being the one to have his penalty saved by Ethan Horvath in that Nations League final a few years ago. It is his last game for Mexico, kind of a testimonial game. He didn't play against Valencia. He was being saved for this one, so that's going to be one of their players to look out for. Other notable additions to their squad are, of course, Memo Ochoa and Raul Jimenez, who both come back into the Mexico team after being left off of the Copa America squad. And now Coach Javier Aguirre is looking to rectify that mistake, bringing in the experienced players who, for Raul Jimenez in particular, are in great form for their clubs. I'm sure you guys all saw that incredible assist he had against Man City just before the international break. But Mexico have been struggling recently. Of course, they got knocked out of the Copa America in the group stage, just like the USMNT did, only beating Jamaica 1-0 before falling to Venezuela and drawing Ecuador. They did beat New Zealand and draw Canada in the last international window. Of course, we lost to Canada and drew to New Zealand, so they did get better results against those two than us. But honestly, their team doesn't look that great right now, especially coming off that draw against Valencia. It has to be said, they did play the majority of their backups in that game. Players like Raul Jimenez, like Memo Ochoa, were saved, and Edson Alvarez as well, of course, were saved for the USA game, so they should be fielding a mostly full-strength 11. Of course, Santi Jimenez, their star striker from Feyenoord, is injured, so that's a huge break for the USMNT. But on the other hand, getting into the US side, I'm sure you guys all know the list of injuries we have, and it even got piled on additionally as the news came out yesterday that 5 more USMNT players will be sent back to their clubs, some due to injury. In Christian Pulisic's case, there's no injury. He's just getting rested due to load management, but we will be without Captain America for this game, along with Ricardo Pepi, who got hit in the head with a ball pretty hard in the Panama game, did finish the game, and of course scored the goal at the end to seal the 2-0 win. But he's being sent back due to a concussion precaution. Hopefully he is okay and backfiring for PSV sooner rather than later. Weston McKennie, Marlon Fossey, and Zach Steffen are all being sent back to their clubs as well. They all picked up a slight injury. Fossey and Steffen didn't even dress for the Panama game, and McKennie did dress, but he wasn't warming up with the subs in the second half, so it was always kind of certain that he would be sent back, as unfortunate as it is, because I was really hoping to get a look at him under Pochettino for the first time against Mexico, especially considering his history with them. I'm sure you guys all remember that iconic moment with him holding up his ripped USMNT jersey after getting sent off against Mexico in that win. But now heading into a USMNT predicted lineup, and again, with only 20 players at Pochettino's disposal, and a lot of them not being first choice options, it's going to be very interesting to see how we line up. We'll start with the goalkeeper, and I think it's probably going to be Matt Turner again. It seemed like the game against Panama was the one to give Patrick Schulte a chance, and then save Turner, the more experienced player, for Mexico. But Turner did start against Panama, and he played well. Not passing out of the back, as we all have seen so many times, but he made a fantastic double save, kept the clean sheet, and he didn't show any reason to be dropped. And I mean, a win against Mexico would be huge for Pochettino and for the spirits in the camp. So I expect Turner to stay in goal, and I'm not necessarily mad at that decision by any means. For the formation, it's kind of interesting to see what Pochettino will go with, because he did elect for sort of a 3-4-2-1 in the last game. Maybe that was because Marlon Fossey was injured. He was supposed to start the game, although I do think he probably would have been deputized at the right wing-back position. We'll just assume for now that he's going to keep with the same formation, although I think it is very possible that he tries maybe a more traditional 4-2-3-1. But if it is going to be 3 at the back, I think McKenzie will keep his place, winning man of the match against Panama. Well deserved. Tim Ream will probably keep his place since he was the captain and didn't necessarily play too bad by any means. He has a lot of experience, and especially with Pulisic gone, he's probably the only captain left in camp. Maybe Jedi Robinson, but I think it's probably better to keep Tim Ream in the lineup at left center back. And then at right center back, I think it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Joe Scally keep his spot, but seeing the exact same 3 center backs does kind of seem odd, especially in Pochettino's first camp, which is kind of a tryout. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Austin Trusty or Mark McKenzie at that position. If it is going to be right center back, Miles Robinson is more traditionally that position. Trusty's more of a left center back. Maybe both of them will come in. Ream will go to the bench, or McKenzie will go to the bench. I'm not sure. I'm just going to predict Miles Robinson to take the spot at right center back. Hopefully Trusty plays, though, because it'd be nice to get a look at him under Pochettino. Now, at the left wing-back position, I think it's pretty clear Anthony Robinson should keep his spot, although Poch did say that a lot of the players who didn't play much against Mexico will come into the lineup, so maybe this could be a Christopher Loon situation. But I think Mexico, he's going to rely on one of his best players in Anthony Robinson. Also probably a candidate to potentially take the captain's armband if Tim Ream is rested for someone like Austin Trusty. At the right wing-back position, I think it could actually be Scally who's deputized in that position, although I think Yunus Musa coming off that goal is probably a good candidate to keep that position. He hasn't really played out wide since his Valencia days, so having 2 games back-to-back would be good to see him try to develop his tendencies in that position. And since we don't have Marlon Fossey available, Serginho Dest, Tim Weah, Musa's kind of the only option there. Even Weston McKennie could play that position if needed, but Musa's kind of what we're stuck with there. Now into the 2 midfield spots, and I do think we're going to finally see some change here. Tanner Tessman should come into the team. He was very good in his cameo appearance off the bench against Panama, and like Poch said, there's going to be some rotation. This seems like one of the key spots for there to be rotation. I think he'll probably come in for Aiden Morris, since they're both more of traditional 6s. Gianluca Busio, I think, will keep his spot at the 8 after a very good performance. I think he was one of our best players in the win over Panama, and definitely deserves more looks. Also has that chemistry with Tessman from their time at Venezia for the past few seasons. Of course, Tessman did make the move to Lyon. Busio is still there, but the chemistry there, and a little bit in the Olympics before Busio did get hurt, I think is going to prove very valuable against Mexico. So I think that will be the 2 in the midfield. Weston McKennie would have come in for Busio, but since he's injured and sent back to his club, Busio keeps the spot, and I'm definitely not mad at that by any means. Now into the 2 10s. It was Pulisic and Aronson in the last game. I think we'll see 2 different players. Pulisic obviously cannot keep his spot since he was sent back to Milan. I think Haji Wright will come in for him. He's not really a 10, but neither is Pulisic. Pulisic was playing a little bit more wide than Aronson was, playing as kind of an inverted left winger, and Haji Wright seems to fit that position perfectly. He plays on the wing for Coventry City at the club level, but we know he's kind of more of a traditional striker. He played that role in Turkey with Antalyaspor before coming to Coventry. He's played that role with the USMNT in the past, and being kind of a second striker, inverted winger sort of position behind the true number 9, I think could suit him really well. He played that way against Panama off the bench and played really well, even getting the assist to Ricardo Pepi for the second goal. So I'm excited to see hopefully what he has to do in a full 60-70 minutes as a starter. And then Malik Tillman should start as the right center attacking mid, the more true center attacking mid. It makes sense. Aronson started the first game, didn't really impress. Tillman had a couple nice moments after coming on against Panama, and he definitely deserves a full look from the get-go. I really hope he does get that, and I think he will based on what Poch has said. So Tillman and Haji as the two more advanced forwards, I think could really do some danger to Mexico. And then up top is the really interesting one, because obviously Fuller and Balogun is not available for this camp due to injury. Ricardo Pepi, after scoring off the bench, just got sent home due to concussion precaution. So it's down to Josh Sargent, who missed a big chance and wasn't that great against Panama, or Brandon Vasquez, who does play in Mexico in Liga MX. He has experience playing in these type of situations. He's been in decent form for Monterrey this season. I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see him get a chance. I know it kind of sounds crazy, but I think he was called in as a replacement for a reason, and I think Pochettino will want to see something different, especially with Sargent not necessarily performing the best against Panama. I think Pepi definitely would have started this game if he didn't get hurt, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Superman, Brandon Vasquez, come into the team, and honestly, I kind of back him to score if he does, especially due to his experience playing against so many of these Mexican players within Liga MX. So I honestly would not be too mad at either of them. I still think Sargent's the better player, but you kind of have to give opportunities to everyone in the camp. Vasquez didn't play at all against Panama. Maybe he was being saved for this game against his other nationality and Mexico. Now, getting into the final part, the fun part, the score prediction. And this one is a really difficult one to predict, because the last time the USMNT beat Mexico in Mexico, I don't even know how long it's been since then. Honestly, it goes back so many years, and especially with such a depleted team, I think 8 of our first 11 players are right now injured, which just says a lot due to the injury woes we have, but also a testament to our depth as well, because we're not necessarily fielding a bad starting 11, regardless of who's put out there within the players in camp. Mexico, of course, has a couple of good players. Raul Jimenez is going to work wonders, I think, against our center backs. I still am not convinced about our defense, especially if we are going with, well, back 3 or back 4. I don't think it really matters. Robinson's great, but the other 3, I think there's a lot of questions to be asked, and Raul Jimenez, in as good of form as he is, I think could do some damage. There's going to be extra motivation since it is a rivalry game. It is Andres Guardado's last game. He's going to want to do something, maybe pop up with an assist. They are in bad form drawing Valencia, but we didn't look too convincing against Panama either. At the end of the day, I'm going to sit on the fence here and go for another 2-2 draw. I think, and I say another because that was a score between Mexico and Valencia in their friendly. I just don't see enough within this USMNT team to actually go and get the win in Mexico, which would be incredible, because that hasn't happened since, I think, 2012, actually. If what I'm looking at right here is correct, that would be 12 years since that happened. I don't think this is the time to break the streak with so many of our players injured. And, of course, in a rivalry game, it's only Pochettino's second game. It'd be a huge statement win, that's for sure. I mean, if he can go in and get a win in Mexico in the first time of asking, that's going to give us some real optimism for the future. But I think Mexico will do enough to get a draw. But at the end of the day, even though this Mexico team isn't great, getting a draw on the road in a very hostile environment against them with such a depleted roster, I think would still be a sign of encouragement. As long as the performance is solid and we can take some positives away, I'm going to be hopeful going into the next camp, where hopefully a lot more players are healthy. We'll get to see more ideas from Pochettino implemented. He'll hopefully have time to speak to all of the players one-on-one, individually, talk about his system, which he didn't get the chance to do before this camp. But overall, I'm just really excited about this game. Let me know, guys, in the comment section below, what is your score prediction for this game? Do you think we will finally win a game in Mexico for the first time in so long, or will Mexico win the rivalry, come out and spoil Pochettino's first game in this incredible CONCACAF rivalry and get the win? Or are you like me? Do you think it'll be a draw between the two teams, tightly contested? And I think one thing's for sure, these games against Mexico never disappoint. There's always drama, so there's a lot to look forward to here. Stay tuned for our post-match reaction to the game, and with all that being said, like, subscribe if you enjoy the content, and we'll see you next time.